Before the private jets, before the trophies, before the 900 goals, there was a hungry little boy sitting on the streets of Madeira, dreaming of a football. Most people see Cristiano Ronaldo today. The chiseled body, the Ballon d'Or collection, the sold-out stadiums screaming his name, but nobody talks about where he came from. Nobody talks about the real story. Ronaldo was born in a tiny house, so small that 4 children and 2 parents shared a single cramped room. No space, no privacy, no comfort. His father, Jose, a municipal gardener by day, a kit man at a local club by night, worked every single day of his life just to put food on the table. Some nights, there wasn't enough. While other kids had toys, Ronaldo had a ball made of rags. That was his only friend. That was his only escape. At school, he was different. Quiet, angry, restless. A boy who didn't fit inside 4 walls when everything he loved existed outside them. He was expelled at 14 for throwing a chair at a teacher who disrespected him. Most people would call that a red flag. Ronaldo called it a turning point, because from that day forward, he chose football over everything, over school, over sleep, over everything a normal childhood offers. Because football never laughed at him. Football never called him poor. Football never told him he didn't belong. On those broken streets of Funchal, Ronaldo played barefoot until midnight. No lights, no coach, no audience, just a boy. And his obsession. His mother, Dolores, cried every single night. Not tears of sadness, tears of fear. Fear that her son would end up like every other boy in that neighborhood, stuck, going nowhere, becoming nothing. She couldn't afford the bus fare to take him to trials. She borrowed money from neighbors, scraped together every coin she could find, just to give her son one single chance. One chance. That was all he needed. At 12 years old, Ronaldo left home, alone, scared, carrying one bag and one dream. He moved to Lisbon to join Sporting CP's academy, hundreds of miles away from everything he knew. He cried himself to sleep every night in a dormitory full of strangers. The other boys laughed at his accent, called him the island boy, told him he didn't belong there. He was different. He spoke differently. He dressed differently. He ate differently. And for the first time in his life, he was completely, utterly alone. So what did Ronaldo do? He woke up before everyone else. He trained after everyone else went home. While they slept, he worked. While they relaxed, he ran. While they laughed at him, he improved. Because he understood something those boys never would. Poverty is the greatest motivator on the planet. When you know what it feels like to go to bed hungry, you never take a single opportunity for granted. But then, just when things were starting to look up, his body broke. During a training session at Sporting CP, Ronaldo's heart started racing. Not the normal kind of racing, not the kind you feel after a sprint. This was different, uncontrolled, terrifying. A heart beating so fast and so irregularly that doctors pulled him aside and said a word no 15-year-old should ever hear about themselves. Dangerous. He needed surgery, heart surgery, at 15 years old. His mother flew from Madeira immediately. She sat in that hospital with her rosary in her hands and prayed the way only a mother can pray, quietly, desperately, asking God for just one thing. Let my boy be okay. The surgery worked. And within days, not weeks, not months, Ronaldo was back outside with a ball at his feet. The doctors told him to rest. He nodded, and then went out and trained anyway. At 16, Manchester United came calling. Sir Alex Ferguson, arguably the greatest football manager who ever lived, watched this skinny kid from a slum in Madeira play for just 45 minutes, and immediately wrote a check for £12 million. For a teenager, from an island most people couldn't find on a map. Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United with his eyes wide open and his feet barely touching the ground. But England was not kind to him. The Premier League defenders kicked him, fouled him, tried to break him. The fans mocked him for falling too easily. The press tore him apart for showing too much skill. They said he was a show-off. They said he was soft. They said he would never handle the physicality of English football. Every single week, somebody was telling Cristiano Ronaldo what he couldn't do. Every single week, he came back and proved them wrong. Then came the moment that almost ended everything. The 2006 World Cup, a single expression, a look on his face during a tense moment, turned him into the most hated man in England overnight. He returned to Manchester United not knowing if the fans would ever forgive him, not knowing if he even had a future there. Some players crumble in that moment. They go quiet, they hide, they lose themselves. Ronaldo went back to training and worked harder than he had ever worked before. The security guards at the training ground had to physically come outside and ask him to leave. Because the floodlights were off, the gates were locked, every other player had gone home hours ago. And Cristiano Ronaldo was still out there, still running, still practicing, still becoming. By 2008, the entire football world had no choice but to go silent and stare. Premier League champion, Champions League champion, Ballon d'Or winner. The boy from the cracked streets of Funchal. The boy who cried himself to sleep in a Lisbon dormitory. The boy whose mother borrowed coins just for a bus ticket was officially the greatest footballer on the planet. But here is what the trophies don't tell you. In 2005, while Ronaldo was still a young player just beginning to find his feet at United, his father died. José Diniz Aveiro, liver failure. He was 52 years old. Cristiano never got to hand him a trophy, never got to show him the stadiums, never got to say, "Dad, look what we did." He has spoken about his father in interviews over the years, always carefully, always quietly, always like a man carrying something heavy that he has learned to hold without letting it show. He keeps a photograph of his father close, and those who know him well say that every record he breaks, every goal he scores, every time his name echoes through a stadium of 80,000 people, there is a part of him that is still doing it for the man who didn't make it to see the ending. Because that is who Cristiano Ronaldo is. Not just an athlete, not just a brand, not just a collection of statistics on a Wikipedia page. He is the product of hunger, real hunger, the kind that stays with you long after the refrigerator is full. He is the product of a mother who borrowed bus money so her son could have one chance. He is the product of a 15-year-old boy who woke up from heart surgery and the first thing he asked was, "When can I play again?" The next time you see Cristiano Ronaldo celebrate a goal, that fist in the air, that roar, that look in his eyes like he has just conquered the world, remember what it cost. Remember the rags ball. Remember the shared bedroom. Remember the dormitory in Lisbon where a little boy cried himself to sleep every night because he missed his mother. Remember the father who never saw the ending. Greatness is never accidental. It is built, in the dark, in the quiet, in the moments nobody sees, by people who remember exactly what it felt like to have nothing. Cristiano Ronaldo was born with nothing, and he used that nothing to build everything. If you're going through something hard right now, if someone has told you that you don't belong, that you're not good enough, that where you come from will determine where you end up, remember the barefoot boy from Madeira. And remember, your story isn't finished yet.